There are over 70 million guitar players worldwide, but 90% of beginners quit within the first year. Most of them stuck and frustrated trying to learn endless chord shapes from chord books and chord charts. But I want to show you a better way that helps you to be part of the 10% that actually stick with it. This simple system starts with just two chord shapes, E and A, and shows you how to change them into a bunch of different chords by simply altering one note. And once you understand how all this connects, you won't ever need a chord book again. But before we get into that, I'm Lincoln, and on this channel we explore ways to help you practice better, play with purpose, and make real progress on the guitar. Let's get into it. Alright, rather than the usual approach of just blindly memorizing random chords, we're going to use something called chunking. And chunking simply means just to break things down into small, meaningful patterns. Studies have shown that chunking information in this way helps improve skill retention by 30 to 40%. In this case, we'll take a single chord and change just one note to create different chords. Let's start by looking at two of the most common chord shapes. Now, when we talk about these chords, we usually just say E and A, but technically their full names are E major and A major. So to make these major chords minor, we just have to change one note in the chord. So for the E, just take your first finger off and now you have E minor. So you can see in the example of E that the first finger here went from the first fret to the open. So that's just one fret difference. Now let's do the same with our A major chord. In this example, the note on the second string is on the second fret and it's going to move to the first fret. But this time we have to completely change the shape of the chord to get that. So it's not immediately obvious that it's just one note moving. So we go from this shape here and then we have to rearrange our fingers and we get second finger on the fourth string here, third finger on the third string, and first finger on the first fret of the second string here. So at first glance it looks like a complete shift in the chord, but really it's just that one note again. Another really common chord type that you'll see come up a lot is the dominant seventh chord. And you'll recognize this chord by seeing a letter name like A, B, F, C sharp, something like that, followed by the number 7. And it has a really bluesy sort of sound. So we have our E major, and we simply just remove the third finger, and then we have E7. What you're doing here is just swapping out that fretted note on the second fret for an open string. So again, it's just one note different. Now let's do the same thing with A. So here's our A chord. Just lift off your second finger, and then you have A7. To be honest, I don't really love this fingering for this chord. It feels really cramped, so what we can do is just replace that third finger with the second finger. Next we have the suspended fourth chord. The chord symbol for this is the letter name of the chord followed by the suffix Sus4. So for example with E, it becomes E Sus4. Let's have a look at how we can create that chord. This chord has a really floaty sort of unresolved quality about it. So we play our E chord, then simply add the fourth finger on the second fret of the third string. You'll notice now that we have two fingers on the same string. We've got the first finger on the first fret and the pinky on the second fret. Check this out, we've got this little trick we can do. If you play the major chord, so just taking that pinky off, then we can play the major chord, the Sus4, and then go back to the major chord like this. This trick gets used all the time in all sorts of music. So now moving on to the A chord. So to change the A chord to a Sus4 chord, we simply take that pinky again and put it on the third fret of the second string this time, and then we get that Sus4 sound. Again, we have the same thing. We've got two fingers on the same string here, and we'll try our little trick. We'll go A major to A Sus4 and then back to A major again. Now you've got 4 shapes in E and 4 different shapes in A. But with just one small shift, you can have all of the information we've learnt right here in every single key. So you'll end up with 96 different chords, all from the shapes we learnt right here. If that's something you're into, check this video out next. I'll see you over there.